I've recorded this audio like 4 or 5 times now. It keeps messing up. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm exhausted, but I'm going to try to get through this. Today, we're going to be making another torture device. This time, we're going to be working on the rack. Now, the rack is a torture device where you lay a person on a table and then you attach their wrist to some shackles and then anchor their feet at the bottom through like a stockade style foot holder. And then you stretch them out until, things start snapping and popping and breaking. It's pretty gross and disgusting. But if you're going to make a torture room, no torture room is complete without one of these things. So what I start with is 3 coffee stirs, 2 inches long, cut out even on the sides. And then I frame out the bottom with 16th inch dowels to make a little box. After that platform is done, then comes the tricky part. The tricky part is the legs for the top part, because what you need to do is you need to make legs that will also hold at the top a round dowel, and that's where you're going to put your chain or your cord that attaches to your shackles for the wrist. So here we go. There's my round dowel, and then I went ahead and put another piece of support wood to make a U shape so that it would be a little bit more stable. And my first mistake is trying to do this a little bit too fast. I'm trying to glue the platform onto the legs, and I didn't let the glue dry, so things start falling apart, as you see there. This happens sometimes when you're crafting at breakneck speeds, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Then I need to make legs for the bottom half of the table, and I cut these at the same length as the top and realized my mistake pretty quickly. As I went to go put them on, I looked at it and said, that's not what I want, because at the low end you want regular sized legs. They don't need to jut up beyond the tabletop. So I went ahead and cut those down to size and then glued them into place. And you're done with most of the table. But the legs. I almost forgot the legs. I used the same stockade technique I used last week, or a little bit over a week now, to create stockades with 2 holes in it that the feet would go into. And this is just 2 half circles into some coffee stirrers, and then glue them together just like I did in last week's project. There you go, and this gets glued onto the bottom of the table. And you can see it there as I'm painting. I'll flip it over here. There you go. See the little 2 holes there where the feet go. And I'm using just a regular craft paint with a brown. It's a regular brown as the base coat. And after I painted the base coat, I realized I didn't put the little gears that, turn the chain that's attached to the shackles. So I cut out 2 little slices of a round dowel and attached them to the left and right of the main dowel that holds the cord or the chain. And then I got some toothpicks and I just cut out little handles. Kept them pretty small and try to keep them about the same length. I'm just eyeballing it here, really. And only needed 1 toothpick. Well, for this part, I actually used the other toothpick in a little bit to help me keep the cord in line. So I make a little plus sign here on the end of this dowel, gluing each one of these into place and trying to keep them even, across from each other. And once I get that all into place, I actually was smart enough to let this dry for about 10 minutes or so before doing the opposite side. See, I'm still having trouble there. Goodness. All right. There you go. Easy peasy. I'll put the lid on and you'll see I jump over to this. This is actually like 10 minutes later, something like that. And then I use a little bit of white glue on this other side with those little pieces of the toothpick. And I offset these a little bit so they're not lined up with the one on the other side. I thought that was a nice little touch. Shows that they're not in sync. It's worn and used, and maybe it's been repaired by somebody who's not OCD. And then I let that dry, and after it's dried, I go ahead and paint those with the same brown as a base coat. And I also take the opportunity at this point to go ahead and do a little bit of touch up where things were not even. The painting wasn't quite even all the way through the piece. Just to make it look a little better. And then after I get that part done, a little dry brushing with some suede. This is a technique I love, and you'll see it in a lot of other things that I do. I like that brown and suede dry brushing. It gives it that gray look that you get with aged wood. And then when you add the black wash at the end, perfect. Just perfect. Now here I'm going through and adding this little cord, and I got this at Walmart. I think it was just like $2 or $3 for a pack of quite a few pieces of this cord, and it's going to be good for a lot of projects. I used some white glue to glue one end in place down there at the top, and then cut it to size. Bam. And that's going to hold that into place, and once it dries you won't see any of that white glue. And then I also use some white glue at the top there so that I can keep the cord in a nice even distribution. So it's nice, it's not overlapping or just flying all over the place. It's really good for holding it in place. So. And I used a toothpick and some white glue to apply it, and then got to the end there, cut it off. And then here I went ahead and took the cord and I circled it up a little bit so it's laying on the table in a little bit different direction. I thought that was a nice little touch. Now with pretty much everything done, the last piece is to come up with the shackles that go on the end of the cordage. And for this, I just have this thin wire that I picked up a while ago. I can't remember when, from Home Depot. Actually, I might have got this from Lowe's, but either one of those stores or similar hardware stores will have a hardware section that has wire that you can buy. It's not very expensive, or maybe you have some laying around. And I just use a jeweler's anvil and hammer to flatten it out, but you can use a regular old hammer and a concrete floor. Hammer it flat and then spin it around the tip of a set of needle nose pliers to make a little circle, and then cut off the excess, and you got a couple of shackles. Easy peasy. It's like I'm a little blacksmith. Here you go. Cut that off, and we're done with those pieces. And that's pretty much it. You just need to let it dry. After it dries, I went ahead and got some black wash. This is the last piece, really, of the puzzle. And I just went over the whole thing, like I do with most of my pieces. And this really makes things pop. And then after you get the black wash applied, give it a little bit of time to dry, and Bob's your uncle. You're all done. And you have another really nice piece to add to your dungeon room. There we go. And that's it for this week. We have a rack, perfect for your dungeon. Hopefully the studio will be back up and running before too long, but I fear at the pace it's going, and with the holidays coming up, it's probably going to be a while. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And until next week, have fun and keep crafting.